Heavy rain and storms flaring up across our area this afternoon, and I'm tracking a strong tropical wave with impacts for the Caribbean for the week ahead. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Great to see you on this Sunday afternoon. I hope you've been having a great weekend. It's your weather world. We're your weather authority. I appreciate you tuning in. Coming up in this video, we're going to talk about a lot of heavy rain and storms across our area on this Sunday, and then talk tropics for the week ahead. As we get started, you know I love to hear from you guys. Drop it in the comments section below where you're viewing from and what the weather has been like, and we're going to get started right now. So the first thing you're looking at here is the broad perspective. Look at all of the lightning strikes here. I can again show you a lot of live information here at Meteo Mundo. So we always want to talk about the here and now, what's going on as we speak, and then get into the forecast. But a lot of lightning. The numbers that you see, those are wind gusts. And again, I have access to buoy data and ships data to go along with all of the reporting stations worldwide. So that's what you're looking at in the broad perspective. First thing we want to get into here is, of course, what's happening with our area of invest, our tropical disturbance in the very far southwest Gulf of Mexico. It's about ready to move inland right now. The Hurricane Center has not pulled the trigger on a tropical depression, and unless they do something at the 11th hour, I mean, right as it's moving on shore, this will not be a depression. It just never really fully got organized. That being said, regardless, it's going to have the same impacts, and this is going to be some significant heavy rain again for North Mexico, areas that were inundated in rain just a few days ago from Tropical Storm Alberto. There's some fresh breezes associated with that in South Texas from Victoria to Corpus Christi and Laredo, but again, nothing significant, and certainly not as much as what we had with Tropical Storm Alberto. This is a weaker, more compact system. That is what it looks like on the enhanced satellite imagery. This is the visible satellite imagery, and again, we certainly have a cyclonic twist to this, but again, never fully wrapped up. You can see some lightning strikes now beginning to move on shore. What do you say we take a look at the radar presentation here out of Alberto? And again, I can show you live radars across the world as well. So take a look at the rain spiraling in for North Mexico. Again, the problem is as this rain moves into some of the higher terrain inland, we're going to have some landslide and mudslide issues for portions of North Mexico. We're going to get some scattered rain again through portions of South Texas, but it's just more kind of wind-driven tropical downpours out of this. And again, the biggest situation is going to be for North Mexico with this banding features kind of spiraling in, some heavier rain, even some lightning right now for that area. But again, unless they pull the trigger at the 11th hour here, we are not going to get a tropical depression, a named storm, nothing like that. There is some drier air to the north, and you can see that in the water vapor imagery, just a very compact system here as it moves inland. After that, again, at this point in time, things will be quiet for at least the next couple of days as far as the tropics go. Now let's get into the storms that are flaring up today. First of all, on this broad perspective, I'm just going to bring on the current temperatures across the board. And it might be hard to read some of that with all the lightning, but obviously where we have all of this heavy rain, it's a little bit cooler today. Feels like temperatures, and again, find the area where you live. I'll take myself off camera so we can see the Windward Islands as well. You see a lot of numbers that are lower today. We've had more rain overall this afternoon. It's been extremely widespread. So where we don't have the rain, feels like temperatures 100 to 110 Fahrenheit. Again, that's going to be upper 30s to the lower 40s in Celsius. We'll start off. What do you say we start off in the Bahamas? Let's do that because we have some pretty good storms going on right now in the Bahamas. This is, again, live look to the enhanced satellite imagery, your live lightning data. Now, this was an area, many of you in the comment section below talked about how dry you had been and you could use some of this rain. Well, we're starting to get much more widespread showers and storms. We have a mid-level trough basically elongated across the Bahamas right now. You can see the flare-up of storms all the way down towards Cuba, but it's the central, the southeast side of the islands, portions of the Turks and the Caicos. It's just an overall wetter day. Ackland's up towards Cat Island and Long Island and Exuma. Then you get up towards Andros and New Providence and Eleuthera. It's slightly drier right now for Grand Bahama and Abaco and Walker's Key and Bimini, but they've had at least some passing storms all day long. Let's take a look at the radar here as well. So I'm going to throw that on and then take off the satellite data at least briefly so we can really get an idea of the storm structure over the last 6 hours. Now, the radar doesn't make it as far south here as Eleuthera, so you can see the lightning strikes there, but where we do have the live data, first of all, very heavy storms over portions of central Cuba. Andros right now is getting very heavy rain. Watch out for the opportunity. First of all, there's been a few severe thunderstorm watches and warnings from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology from this. Obviously, boaters want to be very cautious of this as well. That was the earlier rain up in Grand Bahama. Hopefully you got some beneficial rain out of that, but obviously it's come with a fair amount of lightning, probably driving some folks back inside a little bit earlier than they wanted to on this Sunday. But again, storms right now. Let's take a look what's happening through New Providence. That's a little bit too close, Rusty. Oh my goodness. People know when they watch, every so often this mouse wants to get a little bit squirrely. Paradise Island there. Camper Down, South Beach, Cable Beach, few showers here or there across the area. San Andros on the northern side of Andros, again, pretty decent rain and storms. This is going to be a fairly active forecast for the Bahamas over the next several days. We'll go back out to the broad perspective here. Next spot I want to take a look at is going to be the northwest side of the Caribbean. We'll get into the Yucatan coming up, but watch the storms develop off of Cuba and drop off towards the south. Now we're getting some scattered showers over portions of the Cayman Islands, towards Grand Cayman there. You can see all of the lightning strikes. Once again, tropical moisture is abundant, heavier downpours, lightning, breezy conditions coming along for the ride. Not everyone's going to get it, but you have a very high chance across the Cayman Islands today to catch some of these heavier showers and storms. And it's the same scenario for my friends in Jamaica. Look at all the reds and blacks. Those are very high cloud tops here. You can see the lightning developing, and it's kind of just flared up. It started off east, and now those storms have kind of built through the central and the western sides of the island here. So what do you say? I'm going to pause this at the very last frame and look at the storms right now on the western tip of the island. Boy, Westmoreland, Hanover parishes, Savannah, Lamar, Negril, Montego Bay, getting hammered at the hour. A lot of lightning strikes there. You live in that part of the island, let me know. But again, that is a robust thunderstorm over the far western portion of the island. But again, it wasn't just that. If I back it up in time and then we go forward in time, we're going to start to see that these storms really develop out towards St. Thomas and Portland parishes, sneak over towards Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine, and then basically just work their way back off towards the west. Clarendon and Manchester and then St. Anne and Trelawney. Everything's just kind of moving off towards the west. St. Elizabeth, St. James. I think everyone basically gets on the act is what I'm saying. Hopefully you've caught some of these downpours. If you have, let me know in the comments section. But again, my friends in Jamaica, healthy storm chances for the next several afternoons as well. Let's switch on over towards Hispaniola, our friends in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It's been a fairly active day again. We have this broad cyclonic rotation. It's really flared up some storms. Now, there is drier weather coming, and the Saharan dust is going to be a big part of that. But at least through tomorrow, we're going to continue to see a good flare up of storms near Port-au-Prince and Lacaille there in the Haiti area. Puerto Plata, close to Santiago de los Caballeros, Santo Domingo, Samana. Heavier storms right now on the northwest side of Haiti, but again, the island all has a pretty darn good chance for showers and storms the remainder of the day. Good flare-up of storms over Puerto Rico at the hour as well. Not as much lightning associated with this, but we started off towards San Juan and Fajardo and then developed on the northern side of the island. What do you say we get off the satellite data, bring on the radar data here out of the southeast side of Puerto Rico? This is going to be your live radar on this Sunday afternoon. And again, I can take a look at the different reflectivity tilts. So basically, I'm interrogating the radar here. Generally speaking, we like the lowest reflectivity tilt, 0.5 degree. At this point in time, it does look like some of the heavier storms are near the radar site itself. Again, we had some heavier storms out to the western side of the island a little bit earlier. Slightly quieter now, but additional showers and storms are expected to develop. It's been a little bit spottier in portions of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands for today. Earlier in the day, we had a nice flare-up of storms that moved north, but you can see St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, not as much for today. If you've had a passing shower in that area, let me know. We've had a few storms in the northern side of the Leeward Islands, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bartholomew. You can see some of the rain there. Passing showers are still likely in this area here for the remainder of the day, and then a better chance for for storms for tomorrow. So for places like Ceiba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Barbuda and Antigua, Montserrat, if you haven't gotten rain for today, you still have a chance the remainder of the afternoon and the evening, and a better chance for tomorrow as the axis of our tropical wave begins to move in. Now, we've had better rain today down towards Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique. Take a look at the storms, the lightning data here in real time at Meteo Mundo on this Sunday afternoon. Pretty good storms, at least for a time. It may not cover the entire island, but certainly you live in these areas, you've had a better chance. Would love to hear from you guys how things have been going. At least a couple of spotty showers over St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, but again, they've really developed Martinique north at the hour. Now, Barbados has managed to stay somewhat dry for today, and then areas towards the south, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, we're just starting to see some of that moisture lift up to the north. Now, we have this axis of moisture here kind of moving up towards the north, but we're also going to see our tropical wave move in starting tomorrow. And this is going to have a big impact on portions of the Leeward Islands and even areas off towards the west for the coming week. We'll talk about how this is going to impact or be impacted by some of the Saharan dust as well. But you can see, and that's not the only one that I want to be watching. We've got a couple different tropical waves. They're still very low latitude right now, meaning they're traveling very far off towards the south. One other thing that I can show you here, honestly, I can show you about anything associated with weather here at Meteo Mundo, is I have the ability to also look at earthquakes. And I did pick up an earthquake here off of the Venezuelan coastline right there. It was a pretty significant one, a magnitude 6. And that was, I believe, very late yesterday evening or early this morning. If you were impacted by that or you felt it, let me know. But again, that was a pretty good one there, a magnitude 6. Let's go on over towards the ABC Islands, my friends at Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. There is this dome, I feel like, where the rain just doesn't want to get in your area right now. Another very hot, very breezy day. There's an opportunity to flare up a storm there later, but generally speaking, we're going to be dry. Okay, it's been slightly drier in Central America for today. Now, that is all relative to what we've had lately, but we are flaring up some storms right now. Eastern portions of Nicaragua and Honduras. We've had some really hefty storms through portions of Belize and coastal Guatemala, Dangriga. Look at those storms flare up there, at least some passing showers, and now more storms in inland and northern and western sides of Belize, and then up through the Yucatan as well. It's been another very active day for Cancun and Cozumel and all of the northern sides of the Yucatan. Again, just deeper into this Sunday that we've gone, more moisture has been readily abundant, and these storms continue to be widespread. So that is the here and now across our area. As we get into the forecast, the first thing I want to do is actually talk about this Saharan dust layer. This is a still image of what the Saharan dust looks like for today. We can see a little bit of dust already moving into the eastern Caribbean, but there is a significant plume on the way. Now, in between, we have our tropical wave, okay? So the tropical wave moves in, and then behind that, we have this very sharp layer of Saharan dust, which when I showed you the animation yesterday, is going to work its way all the way through the Caribbean and then up through the Bahamas and portions of Florida as well. So we're going to talk about how that is going to impact this wave in the forecast in general. And as we're doing so, if you haven't liked the video yet, friends, thank you for clicking that like button right now. It really helps support the channel and me, and I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo and want your latest forecasts across the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and your tropical updates, click that subscribe button right now. Okay, so normally I show you guys first the GFS model. As I have been looking at it today, I don't think it's doing a very good job of handling the scenario that I want to talk about. I'm going to show you the NAM model. This one is a little bit better. I'm going to have to show you the GFS, and it's fine down in the Windward Islands. The NAM model's cutoff range is right here. So again, we don't have all the data there, but for 99% of the area we cover here at Meteo Mundo, this is a very reliable model to talk about. So what I want to get into here is I'm just showing you, first of all, a broad brush of the rain over the next 5 days. But what I really want to talk about, first of all, is that tropical wave and then the Saharan dust layer. So you notice that as we get through the next couple of days, especially rest of today, at least through Monday night, maybe early on Tuesday, most of the Leeward Islands and then Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Hispaniola, all with very good rain chances. After that, we are going to see the axis of that dust come in, and we're going to dry out. So deeper into the week that we go, the rain chances really cut off. But I also want to talk about the potential for some pretty heavy rain as well. This is a map. I don't show you this very often. This is called the precipitable water map. Basically, it's just how much moisture is available in the atmosphere, okay? Now, these numbers aren't going to mean anything to you very much, except for the fact I want to show you the difference here. When I click on, hopefully, this probe product, you're going to see that the numbers in red are richer moisture available tomorrow ahead of the Saharan dust. That's going to be the areas in green. Notice that those numbers cut down. The bigger thing is, do you see how there's a very sharp line between all of this abundant moisture and then the drier Saharan dust coming in? We call that a dry line. Now, if you live in the plains of the United States or other areas of Mexico, you've heard of the dry line. It's a sharp delineation between moisture-laden air and very dry air. And along that line, we could actually have some stronger storms for portions of the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico tomorrow night. There could be some rowdy, hefty thunderstorms associated with the dry line on the leading edge of the Saharan dust. So I wanted to mention that. Again, it's just one of those things. As I was kind of going through the forecast, I noticed that this is going to have a big impact, and that dust layer is then going to work its way up through, again, Hispaniola as we go into Tuesday. But certainly for the northern Leeward Islands, and then Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, that sharper delineation of moisture could impact us with some pretty hefty storms. I'm talking about a lot of heavy rain and a lot of lightning. These could be really robust storms for tomorrow night. I'll keep an eye on it. Of course, I'll have another video forecast coming up for tomorrow as well. Okay, let's get back over, sorry about that, to the forecast here. So again, we're just going to follow this heavier rain as it works its way from east to west across these areas. Dominica and Guadalupe and St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda, all with very good rain chances for tomorrow. And then it does dry out, and then the haze comes in. Tuesday's kind of the transition day. Wednesday, Thursday could be absolutely dry or just an isolated storm developing with a lot of haze in the sky. That then obviously pushes off towards the west, and we'll start to see again showers and storms moving into the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Could be, again, sharper storms as we get into tomorrow and then into Tuesday, and then we dry out after that. Again, Tuesday could be fairly dry with just some haze. Same scenario over Hispaniola as well. Wet today, wet through tomorrow night, drier on Tuesday. As we go farther west, we're still going to be influenced more by this Central American gyre. So places like Cuba and the Turks and the Caicos and the Cayman Islands and Jamaica stay wet. The Saharan dust begins to dissipate this far west, still going to move into this area, but just not enough of a factor. There's so much moisture with the Central American gyre, our rain chances stay very high for Kingston and Montego Bay and Georgetown and Havana, and then up through the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos. Wet weather for here through Tuesday. This feature begins to pull north into the east with this broad cyclonic spin, and then they'll dry out a little bit. But for Freeport and Nassau, good storms today, tomorrow, early on Tuesday, and then beginning to dry out a bit after that. This will, sorry about that again, this darn mouse sometimes, this will pull, I swear I have it like as best as I can here as far as the sensitivity of the mouse. Don't want it to be too weak, don't want it to be too strong, but this will pull in some moisture for Bermuda, so Bermuda's rain chances will be going up. There's also a weak system coming off the United States East Coast, which is going to bring those areas the opportunity for some fresher winds as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday as well. And again, you can see the spin up of the Central American gyre. Although we've had slightly quieter weather through Central America with more of a northeast wind, we'll begin to turn those winds back out of the south as the weak area of high pressure erodes away, and then more moisture begins to stream in. And at the end of this clip, at the end of this, you can start to see that tropical wave begin to move into central sides of the Caribbean with the impacts expected there. So that is the that's the NAM model. I do want to talk about the GFS model here for Barbados off towards the south. And again, looking at it, it was really up towards Puerto Rico that I wasn't a big fan of what the GFS was trying to show. Down in this area, I do agree with what it's showing. So let's get into that. And again, we're going to see this tropical wave coming in, the axis of it tomorrow. So pretty good rain chances. Martinique, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago out of this. Obviously down into places like Suriname and Guyana and Venezuela as well. Trying to bring a few showers to the ABC Islands as we get into, let's say, Tuesday, Wednesday, again, and then this tropical wave, still very low latitude, moves into the South Caribbean, and we'll talk about how that could evolve coming up. On the heels of that, we'll have another tropical wave to talk about, but again, being impinged on the northern side by all of that drier air. So let's break down the rain chances. And again, it's going to be up and down for these areas. For Antigua and Barbuda, a 50% chance for showers today, 70% chance on Monday. But then once the Saharan dust comes in, you're down to a 20% chance. Montserrat, 40% chance today, 60% chance tomorrow, 20 on Tuesday. Same thing for our friends in Guadeloupe. Barbados, relatively high rain chances the next couple of days, then drying out on Tuesday. Trinidad and Tobago, scattered to widespread storms today and tomorrow, especially for your Monday. Still some decent rain chances on Tuesday. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, again, 50-60% chance through tomorrow, 30% chance on Tuesday. ABC Islands, a few scattered showers. That's about the best we can do. Shifting a little bit further north and west, Jamaica, 60% chance for rain for today. But again, it's been fairly widespread, and it's going to continue. The areas that have been wet in the northern and western sides of our area, there's no real appreciable changes to your rain forecast. Dominican Republic, after scattered showers today, that tropical wave, the leading edge comes in tomorrow, and then we're drier on Tuesday. Puerto Rico, still again, and it's Puerto Rico and the U.S. and the Virgin Islands and places like Anguilla and St. Bartholomew. I'll be watching for stronger storms late Monday afternoon and evening as that dry line begins to move into the area. Everyone sees a lower rain chance on Tuesday, and then on over towards, oh, sorry about that. There we go. Yeah, I did it twice. Sorry. I duplicated one of the slides, so I apologize for that. So the areas that I did not cover, like the Bahamas, are going to be about a 50-60% chance for rain. Let me just get back out to this map real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I missed one of my slides, but that's okay. So we can break this down. For the Bahamas, next few days, 50-60% chance for storms each and every day, okay? It will begin to dry out on Tuesday. And then for the rest of the northwest areas like the Cayman Islands, I've got you at a 70% chance for rain. Cancun and Cozumel, I can't go lower than an 80% chance over the next 3 days. And for Belize City, it's going to be about a 70% chance for storms in the afternoon hours. So again, the Yucatan and portions of Central America stay wet. Sorry about not having that other slide, guys, and duplicating that other one. Let's talk about the wave heights and directions. This is the current wave heights and directions. You can see the green on your map there. That's 8 and 9 foot waves. That is going to be coming in with the leading edge of the tropical wave and just a little bit more wind energy through the central sides of the Atlantic. It's all going to be easterly still, except for the Gulf of Mexico and the far northwest Caribbean, where we're going to have more of a southeast wind. But again, seas and winds a little bit on the fresher side. Some spots will have over 7 foot seas. Okay, now it's time to get into the extended forecast with what's going to be happening tropically. All right, so again, as we're doing that and I'm setting up this model, if you haven't hit the like button yet, I certainly appreciate you doing that for me right now. We'll go out to the 1st of July. And I'm going to loop this up, and let me go ahead and just get rid of our active invest area since it's basically zilch at this point in time. So what we're going to be looking at here is the progression of our tropical wave that's going to be moving through the Lesser Antilles tomorrow and tracking that into the Caribbean. I'm going to show you a couple of different models. We're going to look at the spin in the atmosphere. We're going to look at the wind associated with it, because this is going to be the next feature to be watching out for the next week ahead. So let's break it down. We'll start off with what's happening in the here and now. This is just the wider perspective. We can see the tropical wave move into the Windward Islands tomorrow. Still looks relatively ragged with just kind of some broad spin and some rain associated with it. As we get into Thursday, the GFS model begins to show a little bit more of a wrap up. You can see there a little bit more of a cluster of showers and storms. as it gets into the far northwest Caribbean, becomes a little bit more prominent now as it gets towards Central America and the Yucatan. And at this point in time, it has it sliding over the Yucatan Peninsula and then potentially back into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. As a matter of fact, what do you say I go out 2 more days, because I can. We'll almost go out to July 4th and just show you that this broad spin over the Yucatan and then back into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Look, when we're looking at tropical outlooks a week or so out, first of all, I want to see model run-to-run consistency, meaning is the same model giving me a similar input, not only over each model run, but over each day as well. I mean, these models run multiple times a day. Sometimes they can go back and forth, but the GFS over the last 24 hours has been very consistent with the development of a potential tropical disturbance in the central and northwest Caribbean, then over the Yucatan and into the southwest Gulf of Mexico as we get into early next week. That's what it looks like on the radar or the reflectivity. We'll take a look at the wind profiles out of this. So this is going to be your surface winds, okay, your 10-meter winds basically at the surface here. Not only are we going to be looking for some stronger winds in the purples and the pinks and the whites, but obviously we're going to be looking for areas where we have a little bit of a donut hole there, which is going to show some rotation. Now, as this tropical wave traverses the Caribbean from east to west, it is going to bring some fresher winds. So for the ABC Islands and Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and then the Caribbean coastline of Central America, just get prepared for some pretty breezy conditions coming along with this. The reason why this might try and wrap up in the area that it could potentially is, remember, we have the Central American gyre. We still have this huge cyclonic spin over Central America, and on the far eastern sides of this is where this is going to try and wrap up a bit. And we can see that. Now, it would be more pronounced as far as having a true center of circulation if it weren't trying to wrap up right over the Yucatan. The models 2 days ago from the GFS were a little bit more east, where that center was more prominent. But obviously, if we're trying to wrap it up right here, there's going to be a lot of land interaction over the Yucatan. So that's what it looks like on the winds, but you can see those really fresh winds coming back into portions of the Yucatan. Now, is this a slam dunk? Is this for sure going to happen? Absolutely not. We're still a week away, but this is the next area to be monitoring here if this wave can hold together. Remember, we're in La Nina. There's very little wind shear associated with the Caribbean at this point in time. And there is very ample tropical moisture and very warm sea surface temperatures to go along with it. Let's take a look at the vorticity in the atmosphere as well. Let me find that product. Again, I showed you this yesterday. This is not at the surface, but this is a composite of the low levels of the atmosphere. This lets me know where I want to watch out for overall spin as we go through the week ahead. So again, letting this loop up real quickly, we'll watch the tropical wave come in. Again, inherent spin associated with it. It's going to take just a couple of seconds here for the model to fully load up. But again, we'll see this move over the ABC Islands and then begin to tighten up a bit as it gets into the northwest side of the Caribbean. There is that spin right there. You can also see that interesting feature I mentioned earlier from the Bahamas headed to Bermuda, more elongated in nature, but still something interesting to keep an eye on. Don't think it's going to become tropical, but nice little spin associated with that. And you can see it there. Again, the model's still jumping slightly until we get all of the frames. There we go, right there. So I can, again, spin this up. Nice little fluid movement. You can see that moving right over the Yucatan. That is a slightly farther south and west than 24 hours ago, but the same time frame for trying to wrap that up in the northwest Caribbean and then over the Yucatan as we get into Sunday, which is the 30th. This is the same product, but the European model. This is the vorticity at the lower levels of the atmosphere as a composite. I've highlighted the area here, and this is going to be on Thursday afternoon for that same area of potential spin up, and we can see that on the European model. It's about the same. Again, is it really tightly, wound up? Absolutely not. But is this an area to continue to monitor? Absolutely. You can see that the European model in development of a tropical depression over the next 10 days basically is at that low latitude tropical wave environment, right? The intertropical convergence zone still relatively to the south, but you notice right along that same latitude line, it just tries to have a fair amount of spin all the way into the Southwest Caribbean and then up through Central America and the Southwest Gulf of Mexico. So this is kind of a composite look over the next 10 days, but you can see that the European model is very keen on those areas. Friends, let's take a look at the rainfall here over the next 5 days. Again, very impressive rainfall totals overall. This is the GFS model, and I'll show you the European model coming up. But again, what you're looking for here are the areas in purples and pinks, and especially the grays and the whites. Those are your more significant rainfall totals. Now, if there is a saving grace, we're slightly drier on the GFS model for like the Yucatan and Belize, who unbelievably 2 weeks ago, we were just desperate for rain in this area. Now we could use a little bit of a break. So hopefully we do get a little bit of a break. And again, this would be before the next system comes in, because this takes you up to the 28th. Still could be some heavier rain, especially on the Pacific side of Central America. And again, we're going to average these numbers out. I would expect another 2 to 4 inches of rain in a lot of spots, with locally higher amounts here, and then higher totals expected on the Pacific side. You can see that we could have some decent totals here. Now, these could be storms that the models aren't picking up on, as I mentioned, in the northern Leeward Islands for some relatively heavy rainfall in very localized areas. More for Trinidad and Tobago here. Decent rainfall totals for Hispaniola. It's not bad for Jamaica here. Montego Bay, Kingston, again, we average it out a couple of inches there. Okay for the Cayman Islands. Cuba could still see some very heavy rainfall. And again, we get more rain and more active weather for the Bahamas as well. Several inches there. There's that feature pulling up towards Bermuda. So heavier rain is possible near Bermuda. Right now, the axis on the GFS model is just off towards your west. But this is a relatively wet forecast, guys, and the GFS has more widespread heavy rain than what it even had a couple of days ago. The European model is about the same. There is nothing that says 10, 12 inches of rain in many areas, but there's a lot of 3, 4, and 5 inches of rain in the red. And again, 4 inches of rain, that's 100 millimeters on the nose. All right, so 4 inches of rain, 100 millimeters. We're seeing a lot of that through Central America and Cuba and the Bahamas. Portions of the Leeward Islands there. Again, there's some drier spots here or there as well, but a lot of us are going to be in store for another active week ahead for us. And again, monitoring that tropical wave moving through the Caribbean. That's going to be a feature that we can just track each and every day for you here at Meteo Mundo. And a good way to do that is follow us across all of our social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Again, you have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. Thank you for supporting us by liking this video and, of course, subscribing as well. Friends, have a great remainder of your weekend. I'll be back tomorrow with the latest information for you right here at Meteo Mundo.